Welcome back to the Merge. We're here again at the Summit 2023 North American Blockchain Summit. Today we've got Taras with us. He's a seasoned professional, the founder and CEO of SunnySide Digital, and very trusted source in procurement and mining equipment. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun here in Dallas the past few days.
Yeah? Where are you based out of?
I'm north of the wall.
North of the wall. All right.
In Toronto, Canada, actually.
There you go. Yeah.
But the team, 13 strong, is actually fully remote. So we're all around the world at this point.
That's great.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about SunnySide for the audience. What do you guys, you say procurement and mining space, what exactly you guys do?
Yeah, so the way we position to our target market is really we're a services and solutions company.
Okay.
We do wholesale brokerage, infrastructure, components, logistics. We're now moving into just-in-time parts procurement as well.
Okay.
And a little bit of warehousing. And I mentioned to you guys earlier, we're setting up a warehouse actually in Colorado to be able to serve the continental U.S. better for just-in-time parts delivery for our major clients.
I mean, so I know a thing or two about Colorado, and I can tell you that those warehouses are not cheap with everything else that's going on out there. That must not have been a capital-intensive investment.
Yeah, it's been a capital-intensive investment, but the market's actually growing quite nicely. And we work with about 15 of the public companies, so we're negotiating a few agreements that will make sure that the capital will be paid out over time, paid back over time, and really allow us to take care of a lot of headaches on some of that service needs that they actually have. So
I mean, I've been in the mining sector myself, in and out of it since 2012 or so.
Oh, very
It's
cool.
become quite. I mean, like I was mining on my gaming PC, on the CPU, when I first started. Now, obviously, it's a massive industrial operation, and the last organization I was involved in, dealing with things like transformer shortages.
Absolutely.
Like it's not a thing I would have conceived this industry moving towards. Well, so what are the challenges that you're there to solve? Like what does that look like for those that have been following mining for that long and kind of don't know what it takes to be a miner?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And the sector really has evolved. I mean, we've gone from being the dodgy, shadowy super coders in basements
Yes.
to emerging to be part of the boardroom, right? Capital markets have embraced us. We've got, multiple public companies that are doing good things. The scale of OpEx and CapEx that's actually happening right now is mind-blowing. It's truly a global business at this point.
Yeah.
And so, there's definitely a need for a trusted source to be able to qualify, vet, supply, procure, and actually sell down assets as well for some of the larger guys, because it's quite a headache, actually, to be able to know where the market is, know where pricing is, and work with someone you can trust. Because, unfortunately, anywhere there's a lot of capital, the parasites tend to accumulate as well.
Yeah.
Right? So
I was going to say, what can you, for those, because we've got a cross-section of like enterprise and crypto blockchain audience, explain kind of the difference in the how you think about a data center that's centered around mining versus a traditional, perhaps enterprise or cloud-based data center. What's that planning? What type of challenges do you run into that you don't run into in the enterprise or traditional data centers?
Well, I think that one of the key distinctions of digital mining data center requirements is candidly the amount of power requirements that you have. Hyperscale is like 10 megawatts plus on the traditional HPC side.
Yeah.
Hyperscale on digital mining is 100 megawatt sites, 100 megawatt plus sites, like some of our clients like Riot and Core actually have.
Right.
So power requirements, power generation, power infrastructure is a huge delineation right now between digital mining and HPC. However, as AI and GPU, like the AI silicon continues to evolve, power densities are actually increasing quite significantly.
Right.
And so within the next, call it 3 to 5 years, we may actually see GPU and ASIC requirement for AI compute being close, approximately close on a power density to digital mining, meaning the experience that all the folks here have in managing heavy power infrastructure will suddenly be very useful to the AWSs of the world, the Azures, IBM. Like, they're actually going to be looking at us and how do we manage power for them to be able to see where the traditional data center power requirements are going.
I mean, this is something that like even the enterprise analysts don't really have their arms around.
No,
like there's a very few analyst firms that are recognizing what you just said.
Yeah.
That there's a parallel here.
Yeah. And I mean, what's happening on the digital mining side is that there's new technologies coming out specifically around single phase and dual phase immersion. We've announced, we're going to be announcing through a press release shortly our partnership with Rosso Immersion. They're a bleeding edge immersion technology provider based in the US and Canada that have some incredible infrastructure that's going to be hitting the market pretty soon.
So yeah, can I ask you some stuff about immersion? So the last place that I kind of advised and had an inside track on with their mining operation was very gun shy about immersion because it doesn't have the track record, right? You know what the life cycle is of air-cooled systems.
Yes.
But immersion at that scale for crypto has not been around long enough to establish a baseline.
Correct.
So how are people approaching this? Like, it seems like a lot of them are just going all hog because of the necessity.
Yeah.
Like, what's the thought?
Well, first off, a lot of people are gun shy about immersion because of the CapEx requirements.
Sure. Right.
Typically, an air-cooled data center for digital mining is anywhere from $250,000 on the very low end, like bare bones data center, to $500,000 on a reasonable, fairly automated digital mining data center.
And what kind of power are you talking about on that? Is that going to be 10 megawatts, 5 megawatts, higher?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. You could probably say that that's probably 10 megawatts up. I mean, the smaller scale you have, you don't get the economies of scale on purchasing.
Right.
But I would say that range is appropriate for 10 megawatts up for digital mining data centers. On the immersion side, it's typically been about $1 million per megawatt for development.
Wow.
And so luckily, teams like Rosso have actually been able to get that cost down materially. So it's approximately $230,000 per megawatt for construction and CapEx for single-phase immersion that's hitting the market now. And so that delta suddenly makes it extremely cost competitive given the stability of the actual hash rate that you're generating, the longevity that you're going to be providing to your ASICs, and the amount of overclocking and candidly underclocking and management within different environments, specifically around heat, as well as noise mitigation.
Yeah, the thing I think I like the most about the data center play is that, once you've actually built those rails, it can accommodate.
Of course.
You basically put in the CapEx. You can accommodate whatever technologies.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've actually, like utility power company, it's tangible. You have math. You figure out exactly what your break evens are for whatever technology.
Correct. Yeah.
The big spend was done up front.
That's right. Yeah. And now that we see the industry is evolving, folks are really coming around to it, specifically in the capital market side, and hopefully soon in the White House and in DC in the swamp, that digital mining is not killing babies and boiling kittens and everything else, that we're actually a net positive to grid stability. I think that amortization of 5 to 10 years for CapEx is very reasonable.
Yeah, so we had Nick Carter on earlier, and
Great guy.
Well, I wanted to talk to him about like the whole negative battery concept and stuff, but we had so many other like hot button topics you were talking about. I didn't even get to that. So maybe we can, for some of the audience here that like isn't familiar with kind of how that works. Like, so this negative battery concept is something you talked about.
Yeah.
And I would like to maybe like kind of lay that out in a kind of a lay sense for some of the non-grid literate people in the audience,
Fundamentally, a negative battery is essentially you are the off-taker of power generation of first resort. Meaning that if you generate power, if you have a digital miner, they are taking power 24/7, 365. Knock on wood, that's the goal, right?
Right.
What that actually allows you to do is overbuild capacity. And actually that will drop on a per kilowatt hour basis for ratepayers their actual utility bill. And why it's important is the negative battery is that when the grid needs that power, a digital miner can shut off within 5 seconds, 30 seconds based on demand response programs that are in place. You talk to DuPont Chemicals or an Alcoa aluminum smelting, ask them to turn off, you're going to get a big no thank you.
Right.
Right. So that's why digital mining is actually a grid positive.
Yeah, especially if it's like the immersion. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Less wear and tear on the machines.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot more thermal management. Your machines last longer. You get a way better performance out of it, and it's a lot more automated.
Well, and the effect on OpEx for a mining company to turn everything off is way different from a factory floor.
Completely.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get a aluminum smelter heated to appropriate degrees? Right. Like it takes weeks.
Right.
You can't just turn it off. Digital miners can.
And not to mention like any manufacturing concern, I mean, they're going to have people on the floor.
Right.
And like, how many people does it take to run a hyperscale data center? Way less than it does to build a widget.
Correct. Far less. But it's also how automated your infrastructure and CapEx is. If you're containers, whether steel structures, there's all sorts of flavors that you can get into getting a per man hour for per megawatt, right?
Right. But the goal is always driving that down, and Bitcoin mine excels at that. Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Efficiency, yeah.
You know, for SunnySide's digital vision, what are your thoughts? Like, where do you see it going? I mean, we're obviously in a pretty intense, volatile time today. It's not necessarily a great day, but what do you see as from a subsistence point of view? What do you see moving forward?
Just like we're seeing some M&A in the market on the public miner side, I'll say that there's going to be M&A and consolidation on the services and secondary market side. We're really happy to announce that we've actually, we're working to close an acquisition of a company called Marov. We're bringing 4 of their folks onto the SunnySide team. So that'll bring us up to 13 full-time team members with SunnySide. That'll also allow us to make sure we can cover HPC and GPU hardware sales, data center construction, because candidly, that's been a big driver of growth for us as a company.
Right.
Several of the public companies have actually come out and said that is a new strategy for them, which makes sense. The one thing to caveat that is that not all digital mining data centers are appropriate for HPC, but some are. About 10 to 20% of the existing digital mining facilities and sites can potentially be repurposed. It's going to be expensive, but it'll actually allow them to have different streams of revenue over the longer term, and candidly, capital markets really likes that.
Digging into your recent merger acquisition, was there a mark change? Was there a funding round beforehand, and was there a change in the mark?
We've been working with Marov quite closely over the past year and a half. So there was no fight. It was actually a really welcoming come join the team kind of discussion. So nothing but great things to say about those guys. They've done fantastic. We're going to be launching some new products with them as part of the team pretty soon. So it's going to be exciting days ahead.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thanks so much. Taras, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm so happy to be able to get a little clarity into the mining infrastructure from our friends up north as well.
Yeah. Happy to chat anytime. Absolutely.
Thanks, and welcome to Texas.
Thanks, guys. Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.